Hello everybody, and welcome to the first video of many regarding Mod 18, this one about class balance, specifically DPS class balance. So there's been a lot of discussion going on the forums the past few days about class balance, and No Worries brought up some things they were planning to do in Mod 19 and beyond for balance, but people were like, no, we want some balance right now. So the devs did a quick pass on the DPS paragons that they feel were not performing appropriately, and a lot of them ended up being buffs to damage, but there are some nerfs, of course, to classes or paragons that were performing better than intended, but these changes are not comprehensive at all, and it's very likely that a lot of things are going to continue to change in the future. It's just that a lot of people gave the feedback that they wanted the adjustments right now, and they'd rather not wait for more comprehensive ones in a later mod, and they'd rather have smaller ones now to make the balance better in the short term, you know, all that jazz. So there's going to be more in the future, basically. More comprehensive ones that cover a lot of other issues that are with the classes. But, like I said, this only covers DPS paragons, so if you're a tank or a healer, sorry, but this video doesn't really have anything in it for you, unless you just, want to watch because you're cool. But pretty much every DPS paragon, except for barbarians, had a bunch of changes. The ones with the most changes are Dreadnought fighters and Hellbringer warlocks, which I think a lot of people are going to be happy about. But I'm just going to stop blabbling and tell you all the stuff that's been changed. The majority of the things are just like X and Y and Z, and A and B and C do X more damage. And then there's some feat changes too, of course, but I am just going to go in alphabetical order because that's the way this list is, and so that's going to make it easier, which means that we're starting with Arcanist Wizard, which is performing above what is expected or intended for the class. So there are a couple nerfs in here. There were 5 things changed with Arcanist, which were Chaos Magic, a step above Mastery, Arcane Presence, Chilling Presence, and Storm Spell. So Chaos Magic now has a 5% chance to trigger. A step above Mastery gives you 0.5% damage per stack instead of 1%, so there you go. There's one of the nerfs there is basically cutting the damage bonus you get in half from that feat. Arcane Presence doesn't give you the 5% recharge speed anymore, which is, I guess, technically a nerf. Chilling Presence will now give you 0.5% damage per stack, and Storm Spell now has a 20% chance to trigger. That was all that was changed for Arcanist, but keep in mind that Thaumaturge was changed as well, and I'm gonna go back on what I said and not do alphabetical order anymore. But next is Thaumaturge Wizard, which had 4 changes to Icy Rays, Chill Strike, Shatter Strike, and Frigid Winds. A bunch of cold stuff, basically, because, wizards just love snow, apparently. So Icy Rays and Chill Strike both had their magnitudes increased, so that's some more damage you'll be getting from them. And Shatter Strike now gives you 150 magnitude damage to control immune targets, and Frigid Winds now gives you 1.25% extra damage per chill stack on the target. Now, you all know I'm not a wizard, but Thaumaturge was performing pretty poorly compared to Arcanist and some other DPS paragons, so I would like to say that these are all buffs. I mean, obviously the increased magnitudes ones are buffs, but the other 2 ones I am not familiar with. But that is all for Wizard. We're already done with one class and it's been like 2 minutes. Maybe this video won't be an hour long. But now we're going to go into Cleric. Arbiter Cleric. The magic light wielding death wizard lady thing. That's what they're called. Do not question it. So there were 5 things changed with Arbiter as well. Those being Focused Light, Perfect Balance, Angel of Death, all of which are feats, and then Lance of Faith and Sacred Flame are at-wills. So the 2 at-wills had their magnitudes increased, so you're doing more damage with your at-wills now. I think those 2 are the 2 most commonly used at-wills on Cleric. Actually, that might be a lie, because Conflagration is also very commonly used, but you get the point. And then the 3 feats that were changed are the 3 feats that 2 of them I do not use and never wanted to use, which I think is the point to sort of diversify the feats people are using to do DPS and also make them better because everyone's like, these suck! And, But Focus Light is the one that enhances your Daunting Light encounter, and it was actually not correct before. It was giving you a 40 magnitude bonus from the Radiant Judgment and is now 100 magnitude damage from Radiant Judgment. So basically you cast Forge Master's Flame, and then Daunting Light, and Daunting Light, it becomes single target, gives more damage, and then also gets more bonus damage from the Radiant Judgment. So basically each stack of Radiant Judgment will give you an additional 100 magnitude instead of 40. I took a really long time to explain that, and I should have just said that. Moving on. Perfect Balance, the feat that seems super complicated, now gives you 1% bonus damage per stack of either Radiant Shift or Burning Shift. Yay, more damage. Now, Angel of Death, people would complain that it's super annoying because it takes like 50 years to get 30 stacks, and by the time you get 30 stacks and activate it, everything's already dead, so you have it activated at the end of the fight, and you're just running around flapping your little neon wings, like trying to do something useful, and it just isn't happening. But it's been reduced to 26 stacks for activation, which is only a 4-stack difference. So I don't know if that's going to be significant or not, because it still is going to take 49 years to get it activated instead of 50. Like, it's better, but I don't know if it's going to be something that's actually noticeable significantly. Probably not significantly, because all these changes are pretty much little ones that are meant to bring the classes a little more closer together until the bigger changes in Mod 19. Alright, that's all for Cleric, because guess what? Clerics only have one DPS paragon. Every time I make a sarcastic comment now, I just think of the one character that's in the new campaign. She's so much like me that she's just so sarcastic, and that's for a later time. Now we're gonna move on to Whisper Knife, because this is not in alphabetical order at all. I don't know why I said it was. But this is Rogues. Rogues have 2 DPS paragons, but only one of them is being changed today. Well, in Mod 18, I guess. And Rogues had 7 things changed to them. The Whisper Knife paragon only, because, you know, as the devs said on the forums, the Assassin paragon for Rogue is performing at where they would want all the other classes to be based around, pretty much. Like, Assassin is the baseline for the class balance, because they are performing where they want DPS classes to perform. And Rogues are pretty decent right now, so, you know, that's a good thing. But Whisper Knife Rogue, the one that no one really uses, the things that were changed: Impact Shot, Shadow Strike, Shuriken Toss, first 2 being encounters, I believe. The third one is an At-Will, Vengeance Pursuit, Dagger Threat, Gutterborn's Touch, and Blitz. So, the first 3, Impact Shot, Shadow Strike, and Shuriken Toss, all had their magnitudes increased, so that's just some bonus damage, which is nice. Now, Vengeance Pursuit was changed to have its base magnitude increased, the stealth bonus magnitude increased, but then they also fixed the issues with multi-procking when it shouldn't have been, so it may not actually feel as much like a buff as it looks like it is, because it was able to proc multiple times, which, you know, is not supposed to happen. So now, Dagger Threat. Dagger Threat had its maximum benefit 20 feet instead of 15 feet, which is the range that the feat will take effect, of course. Now, Gutterborn's Touch does not increase awareness anymore. Instead, it increases your ranged damage by 5%. Now, for Rogues, they don't have as much ranged damage as other DPS classes, obviously, because they're a rogue and they have daggers. All they can do is throw them, for the most part. But that is good, though, because awareness is just blah. You look at a class feature or a feat or something that increases awareness, and you're just like, meh, I'd rather have something that increases my damage. So, you know, it's better than it was before. And then Blitz. If you use it when you're stealthed, it doesn't reduce encounter cooldowns by 2 seconds anymore. So by the looks of it, that one is actually a little bit of a nerf, which is interesting, because having everything, well, not everything, but a few things having increased magnitude and then having bonus cooldown reduction on top of that would make Whisper Knife more viable, I would think. Because, you know, more damage on some things, and then you're able to use them more often, but instead, you're not allowed to use them more often. Bad. You go on Santa's naughty list. Alright, that's it for Rogue. Moving on. I think we have like 3 more. So now we have Hunter, Ranger, whatever you call it in your head. The class that I don't really like very much. Hunter had some buffs and Warden had some nerfs. And by some, I mean not that many, so don't freak out or anything. We will start with Warden first, because there's only 3 things and that's not very many, and Hunter has like 11. Right, so Warden, Focused, To the Wind, and Skirmisher's Gambit were changed. So Focus now increases 2% per second to a maximum of 20%. To the Wind now grants you a 5% boost to throw caution, and Skirmisher's Gambit now reduces critical strike by 10,000 and increases critical severity by 25%. You know, that seems pretty good actually. It's pretty easy to overcap crit, and then all that bonus crit severity could be pretty useful. Now on to Hunter. Like I said, there's 10 things that were changed, so let's just list them off. Drum roll, please. Disruptive Shot. More than disruptive. Slasher's Expertise. Longstrider's Shot. Gushing Wound. Aspect of the Falcon. Thorned Roots. Hawk Shot. Prey, which was Predator before. And Biting Snare. Okay, so all the things that just had their damage increase are Disruptive Shot, Longstrider's Shot, Hawk Shot, and that's it. So More Than Disruptive now increases your range damage by 10% for 5 seconds. And Slasher's Expertise now increases your melee damage by 10% for 10 seconds. Oh, I lied. Gushing Wound also just had its magnitude and damage over time magnitude bonuses increased. Aspect of the Falcon now gives you a 10% damage bonus. Prey, which was Predator, now increases range damage by 10%. So there's 2 things now that will increase your range damage by 10%. That is pretty decent. And then Aspect of the Falcon as well, another 10% damage bonus. Now, Biting Snare can occur every 15 seconds instead of 20, and then Thorned Roots increases the magnitude against control immune targets to 150. Hunter was not being used very much at all. It fell... actually, it was not even listed in the Paragon performance in Tom, but Warden was performing about 1.5% over what they would want, so it did need to be toned down a little bit, and then Hunter needs to be, up, up, up. Now, as far as balance goes, just from the data that they pulled before, the worst performing DPS Paragon of the ones that were talked about was Arbiter, which is performing 6% below the baseline, which is pretty bad, considering that the next worst one is Dreadnought at only 3% below the baseline, so yeah. Speaking of Dreadnought, we're going to talk about Dreadnought now, which has like 67 changes, but almost all of them are just increased magnitude, so have a look at it. Pretty much every single power that exists had its magnitude increased in that Paragon. If you cannot get on preview, ask somebody to show you, because the magnitudes were all increased a little bit, and we all know Dreadnought has not been doing that great, so regardless of what your build is, I guarantee you are using at least 2 of the things that were listed that had their damage increase, so test it out and let me know what you think. That's all I'm going to say about Dreadnought, because I know you don't want to listen to me list off like 15 names, when I just told you what all of the changes are. I'd probably be better off listing what did not have its magnitude increased, but I'm not going to do that. Now, lastly but not leastly, we'll talk about Hellbringer Warlock. Now, I like Warlock a lot. It has lots of loud noises and pretty sound effects. Pretty sound effects? Pretty VFX. Pretty graphics. Pretty powers, lots of explosions and fire and stuff, and dead things. So a lot of the things for Hellbringer Warlock were also just increased magnitude. So in general, you should be doing more damage, because I guarantee you're using at least 1 or 2, if not 3 or 4, of the things that had their magnitudes increased. I wonder how many times I've said magnitude in this video, and I don't like that word very much because it makes me think of earthquakes. Actually, everything for Warlock is just increased damage. So same thing with Dreadnought. Check it out and let me know what you think. Obviously, you can see on the screen now. I'm not going to list all those things because you'll just be like, this is so boring. Right. So the only DPS Paragon that did not have any changes were the Blademaster Barbarian, the Assassin Rogue, and that's it. There were only 2 that did not have any changes. So like I said, these changes were influenced by the community, by the discussion that was had on the forums. There's a link to it in the description if you did not read it. There was some pretty insightful things brought up about the way that they balance things and just explaining how things with scaling are going to work. Just basically talking about the future as well as balance and stuff like that. So it's not what the thread was originally about, and the thread is closed now, but just read it, please. Use your eyeballs and read. And remember that all these things are subject to change. This only went on preview like 40 minutes ago at the time that I'm saying this. And, preview is going to last for a month. The release date is the 21st of January, so that's like a month and a week or two. The extra time is probably because they are off for the holiday, but it even says in the post that no worries made, like, it's possible that some things may be reverted and other things will be changed more extensively in Mod 19 or a future preview patch or a future patch, basically. So that's pretty much always the case with preview. Anything on preview is subject to change. You shouldn't really assume that anything there is concrete until it goes on live. Even then, things change on live all the time, as I'm sure we all know. That is all I have for you today. Leave a comment, tell me what you think about the DPS balance adjustments, and if you think that the 3 quote-unquote worst DPS, which are Arbiter, Hellbringer, and Dreadnought, do you think that they will become more viable in Mod 18? Let me know. Thank you for watching or listening or whatever, and I will see you in the next video. Also, if you have not entered my giveaway, you should, do that because it's a rank 14 Black Ice enchantment right now. Link to join my Discord is in the description. That's where you enter, in the giveaway channel. Okay, bye.